Welcome to this Social Studies Virtual Learning Network, and this is the first webinar in the series. It's actually the second overall. We had a convening webinar to sort of get a feel for where we're headed, and I am Mark Barnes, and I'm going to introduce myself in a moment. I'm going to give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves. We've got a great audience here today. There's more than 50 people here, and the room is continuing to fill up. So let's move forward, and we'll have some polls and try to make it interactive. And our goal today is to come away from here really being better at integrating Common Core into our social studies classroom. And we're really going to talk a lot about reading and writing in my social studies class. So just a reminder for people who didn't see the convening or who haven't been on ASCD Edge, which we'll talk about. Again, this is me, Mark Barnes. I am an ASCD faculty member, and I am the author of Role Reversal and The 5-Minute Teacher, both books published by ASCD. I was a classroom teacher in the junior high and high school levels for 20 years. I think it's important to remind people that I mentioned in the convening that I'm actually a language arts teacher, not a social studies teacher, but I think that for our purposes, I think that helps because, as you know, social studies uses English language arts standards, and I think that sometimes is tricky for people. I know my colleagues often brought that to my attention and wound up social studies people coming to me and saying, you know, how do I work these into my social studies class? So I'm hoping that expertise will lend itself to what we're trying to do. I'm a presenter. If you're on Twitter, which you should be because it's a powerful professional development tool, I'm at MarkBarnes19, and you can learn more about me on my website. And then there is my ASCD email address, and I will remind you of that at the end of the program as well, and feel free to reach out to me. But I'm going to really encourage people to do their reaching out at ASCD Edge, which we'll talk more about in a moment. So here's where we're headed today. We're going to, again, with the welcome, that was my introduction and welcoming you, and sharing how thrilled I am that so many people are here. I'm very excited to see that. And again, in a moment, we'll do some polls where I'll get a sense for who you are, what you're teaching, those kinds of things. We're going to revisit some of those convening items because that webinar is not published anywhere, and we had some technical difficulties then, so we didn't get a chance to record that and archive it. So I want to make sure we just hit the high points of that today. We're here to talk about problem of practice today. We want to talk about an educational shift and come back full circle to problem of practice and talk about how we can fix it. And we're all about fixing things here at the Social Studies Virtual Learning Network, so hopefully we will fix some problems and improve our teaching and learning by the end of this session. We're going to talk about instructional strategies. We're going to look at some strategies in action. I've got amazing resources to share today. I'm very excited about those, and I think you're going to leave here excited. We're going to close with a little bit of goal setting, say where do we want to go from here, what's next, and you know, really maximize our time. So why don't we kick off with a poll, get you guys involved, and what helps me is just to get a sense for my audience, because it's a very huge audience, and I'm excited about that, as I've said. So this poll is very simple, and we'll get you a polling screen here, and then we'll show our results. So what grade level do you teach? And level or answer E is if you're an administrator, or if you're other, you're a coach, you're something like that. And we'll give people time to respond. I get a lot of responses coming in right now. And then I think we're going to get to see those results. If not, I can summarize them in just a moment. So let's see, we've got, again, we are up to 55 people in the room, and we're at looks like 17% in the K3 world, an equal 17% in 4 through 6. 19% of us are 7-9, 17% again in 10-12, and looks like the majority of our audience here are administrators, uh, academic coaches, maybe technology or other. Um, this is an interesting group, and I'm glad to see that we've got so many administrators, because that tells me that we're really taking a look at our strategies, and hopefully we're going to carry back a lot of what we learned today to our building level teachers. Okay, so we'll do poll number 2. Let's find out what we know. How good are we at Common Core knowledge, integration, etc.? Finish this statement. My understanding of integrating Common Core state standards into daily lessons is, and A is worse than my peers. We're kind of evaluating ourselves against peers, so maybe I don't know much. B, similar to my peers. So maybe maybe they don't know much and you don't know much either. C, better than my peers. So where do you stand in relation to them? And then maybe you're someone who's really good with Common Core and you say, I teach it to peers. And what I'm finding, and I think it's not surprising in our results here, is a large percentage, and these percentages are changing. We've still got people taking the poll. So it looks like about 40% now, and that's still fluctuating a little bit, about 40% changing or are in that D, I teach it to peers category, which I guess I'm not surprised by that, being that we have such a large administrative and coaching audience here today. We've got 40% saying I'm similar to my peers. And one thing I'm hoping, and we've got 7% saying I'm worse than. So maybe I really want to know more. I need to know more. And what I'm hoping as we continue with these webinars, and we will continue, we've got a lot more coming after today, and then of course all the work we do at ASCD Edge and all the resources we're going to share. What I'm hoping is that we're all going to get into the D level. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to be someone who teaches it, but that your level of understanding of integrating Common Core into your class would be to a point that you feel that you could teach it. Okay, we'll move along. We're up closing in on 60 people now in attendance. What a great audience. This one is a short response. So instead of multiple choice, we're going to answer now. And you have a question box in your dashboard area. You have a question box. So this is where we're going to write our short answers, and I'm hoping you will participate, because I'll only know if I see some stuff popping in. You may not see other people's responses, but I should, and if not, I'm going to ask someone to help me out. And I see some things coming in. The thing that frightens me most about integrating the Common Core into my classroom or school is Christine says inconsistency, and I got to open my box here because I'm only getting part of it. Inconsistency among teachers, buildings, districts. Oh, that's a big one. Teacher ratings. You know, we're faced with these issues of evaluation and my dog's helping. Excuse me. My dog's helping with the Common Core. We'll keep looking here. We've got literacy standards. And I'm trying to get my dog to stop while I'm reading these. Okay, so keep those answers coming. Helping our parent educators learn how to do it at home. Boy, you know, we really need to get parents involved as well. Any kind of help we can get that makes this a community effort is going to really help us with Common Core. The amount of primary sources that we have to cover, Rick says, You know, this is one that we have to talk about. And my daughter's trying to take my dog out of the room because he's upset that he's not involved in the Common Core. Okay, so let's move on. We're getting some good responses here, and we're going to deal with these issues as we continue. I want to revisit some things that we did in the convening that are important and that make us successful here. Um, we talked about ASCD Edge, and I really am hopeful that the people, especially with this large number that we've got here, still growing, over 60 people in attendance, no one's scared off by my dog, that we will get to ASCD Edge. And you've got the web address up here at ascdedge.asc.org. It's really easy to join. It's a free resource, and this is where our community is. Okay, so once you get there, what we want to do is go to groups, and you see here on this slide, we've got our virtual learning network groups. Okay, so, and we've got some other great groups in here. I've got some tremendous colleagues, so if you're had any reason to be in one of those groups, take a look at those as well. But once you come into groups, you come over here, you go to VLN, and you see social studies, and you'll click into that and join that group. And once you get in, and you see this shot came a long time ago, back to the convening when we were only at 5 members. We need to take this membership way up now, and get everyone here involved, because what we do with this is this becomes sort of the hub of our virtual learning network. What we do is share resources, and I've put lots of resources on here. There are videos. One of the videos I'll share later today is on here. There are links to other sources. I'm going to share lots of amazing sources today, but it's not just about me. Remember, I'm a facilitator. I don't want to just be the leader of a group. I want to be a facilitator. I want the group to do more leading. So you need to come in, answer questions, dialogue with each other. All of these things will make our ASCD Edge group more successful. You see on this screen all the things that have gone up recently in the last 2-3 days, because this is a very recent shot. I've got a link to Education Northwest, which is a source I'm going to share later. I've got a video. I'm going to show some of this later from the Literacy Design Collaborative. And you see I've got a link there and some annotation there. So there's tons here. Up on the right side, you see our calendar, upcoming events. You want to know when the next webinars are. You want to share these out with your colleagues. We don't want to keep the virtual learning network a secret. We want to get as many people involved as possible. So again, we want to go to ASCD and join ASCD Edge. Please, if you haven't done it, when we're finished here today, jump right over there and get in, introduce yourself, get the conversation moving, because this is a powerful place. At the convening, we talked about EduCore. This is an amazing resource. I've written about this. I've talked about this with peers. At the convening, I said in all my years of looking at helpful sites, places that make teachers better, I don't know that I've come across anything as helpful as EduCore, this amazing ASCD site. And it's growing and getting better constantly. So we talked about EduCore and using it as a tool to make us better. So at EduCore, we've got tools, we've got strategies, we've got videos, supporting documents. It's modular. You'll find templates for lessons, just everything there to support your implementation of the Common Core. And that's what this VLN's about. It's about support. It's about resources, and it's about collaboration. So again, here's another look at EduCore and what you see when you get there. and you've got videos where you can watch, you can read more resources. There's tons of learning when you register. Remember, it's a free resource for educators. When you register, you can set up your own area to save resources that you like. There's just an amazing wealth of things here. Once you get into your literacy tools, you see over on your left side all of the things from the LDC that are there. Um, Getting started, you go through these videos and it shows you lessons in action. This is a source you're going to want to use, and I'm thinking I want to use it often. So again, here's LDC Social Studies examples. I click into that and I've got sample lessons. EduCore is a great resource. Another resource we want to revisit today is Achieve the Core, and this is achievethecore.org. So you can see here, Achieve the Core is one more place that you can go to get lessons, to see videos. You can actually download things from here that you can then take and use. It's an amazing place. So that's sort of where we were on the convening. And now I want to move forward and talk about this problem of practice and get some more interaction and some feedback from you. So this is what I want us to think about right now. Let's ask this question. How do I find time to teach specific reading strategies using complex content while still providing students with the content knowledge they need? And I think when we asked the question earlier in the chat box, one of the responses was about time and how do I meet the curriculum that I have and all of my objectives teaching whatever history or social studies I'm teaching and still do Common Core stuff, close reading, writing, collaboration. So as we continue, we want to think about this. We'll do some more question and answers in a few minutes. We want to look at some resources, think about our strategies, and see if we can't come away with more of a sense of how this works. So let's go back to our question box again, and let me hear from you guys. What strategies are you currently using to balance, let's say, a close reading of complex content with meeting your learning outcomes? If you're doing this at all, if we're at a stage where we're really trying to work with close reading strategies and choosing complex content, which is what the Common Core is calling for, how are we finding a balance between this? What are you doing in your classroom to help this? Let's just go ahead and write in our question box anything that you have at all about what you're doing with close reading, if you're doing anything with it, if you're still not sure, what do we have? And I'm still looking at some of our responses from the other question about what frightens people. And there's a lot. Close reading is the heart both formally and informally, Diane says. Jenny says strategy, talking about vocabulary. This is a big one, and keep those comments coming. Vocabulary is one that we need to look at. We need to look at our resources, and we need to think about how we're teaching it because we need to do it differently. But getting vocabulary into our writing, into our close reading strategies is a big one. Meg says create projects that integrate the content with specific outcomes, and I think this is critical. I was with some teachers this morning in a session doing something similar to this, only face-to-face, and we talked a great deal about projects, and some teachers fear that they lose their creativity and can't do projects because of Common Core and because of feeling that they have to teach to certain standards. And I think that couldn't be further from the truth. I think we want to work on integrating those standards into our lengthy projects. differentiation through rotating centers that complement read alouds. This is fantastic. Sean says this, and I think that differentiation is something that we need to talk about more. And keep in mind as I read these back, and we move to ASCD Edge. This is what we want to do is continue this conversation there. And keep in mind, again, that I'm a facilitator. I don't have the silver bullet answers to these questions, excuse me, but I think that together we will really meet out what works. To me, close reading is the goal. Content is the avenue. Dana, this is a tremendous comment. So as we continue, we're going to look at some resources, we're going to look at some strategies, and we're going to see how easily we can connect them into our own daily lessons. And along the way, I'm really hoping that we'll start carrying some of this to ASCD Edge, and we'll start a real dialogue there, because I really believe with so many people here, up to 66 people at this webinar, with a mix of administrators and K-12 people, if we carry this conversation there, we're really going to build on what we're doing at this webinar. Okay, so this is some good stuff. Let's move forward. And let me get my chat box out of the way. So we want to talk about this instructional shift along with our problem of practice. So we're talking about it in our chat box and our question box, and what we're really getting at is this: we need regular practice with complex text and its academic language. We've already talked about vocabulary. That's one that's coming up quite a bit. So there is a certain language that comes with complex texts, and I think this is where kids struggle. And oftentimes they might know the content but not understand how to demonstrate learning, because vocabulary gets in the way. So we're going to have to look at how to talk about it, have a dialogue about it, so that we can get through it. So let's continue to take a look at what Common Core is calling for. So if we look at this pyramid here, triangle if you will, we've got these kinds of texts: qualitative, quantitative, and reader task and task. And you can take a look at this. I won't read to you. I'll just highlight some of these things. So what the core standards say is that qualitative dimensions of text complexity is built here. What we're looking at are factors that refer to those aspects of text complexity best measured or only measurable by an attentive human reader. And we really need to dive into this quality text and take things like this and get our students to understand what this means. And then the quantitative dimensions of text: word length or frequency, sentence length, text cohesion. These are not impossible for human beings, but what we need to do is find the text, and this is one of the things we want to also work out here with this group and on ASCD Edge and looking through our resources, is not only how we do it, but where do we find the right things. And I really love that part of this virtual learning network and what ASCD is doing in partnering with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which has made this possible, is providing these sources that will help us find these. Because I think that teachers will be successful if they have the resources that help. So when I say, well, I need complex text that has varying word length and frequency, and I need all of these things to really turn my kids into efficient readers of history or historical documents, it would be nice if I had them. because if I have to spend that much time searching for them, that creates another issue. So the resources are going to help. Reader and task consideration. So this is what we're thinking, how do I do this? What does the Common Core call for? Okay, so and that's the reason I'm showing you these slides today, is just taking these important pieces of complex text and getting some sort of understanding about task complexity and what these complex pieces of reading look like. So again, I don't want to read all of this to you, but I think it's something that we need to be cognizant of as we move forward as teachers of difficult nonfiction pieces in social studies. I like this piece where it says the assessments are best made by teachers employing their professional judgment. And that's really important. We need to get to a point where we're comfortable teaching difficult texts and where we can look at kids and evaluate what they're doing and give them proper feedback by our own observation and judgment rather than going to numbers and letters and percentages all the time. This is sort of an easier breakdown of by grade level of what these things look like when we're talking about these different kinds of text and looking at the different grade levels. I think this is a nice resource here, and this comes from educationnorthwest.org. By the way, these will be linked at ASCD Edge. I'm sorry. These will be there. I will put links to all of the resources we see here today, so you don't need to worry about that. You just need to get to ASCD Edge. So, and you see the little differences here. Again, I think this is sort of a quick glance at how are my kids growing over time? What do I need to prepare them for? So in the grades 6 to 8, we're looking at textual evidence, and that is such a key phrase. There's a site I'm going to show you in a little bit that has some video on it, and these videos are incredible. Instead of someone just talking about doing it, sort of like I'm doing now, what you have on the videos is actually teachers in the classroom showing us how to work with these complex texts and how to get kids to use textual evidence, and that's really critical. And that's sort of a Common Core vocabulary that I think we really need to get our kids comfortable with. And again, you can see as you go up in the other grades, the areas that are sort of added into the standards. So then here we are thinking across sources, same kind of idea. What our kids need, what we need to be thinking about when we're teaching in these different levels. What do I need to be efficient at? If I see charts and research data, again, where am I getting my resources? And we're going to come to some of those resources in a few minutes. So let's think about strategies and tools. What strategies should I use? I have to teach complex text. I have to think about qualitative and quantitative and task, and it's a lot. What strategies do I use, and what tools will help students use textual evidence, because they need to be able to do that, to think across these sources. So here's sort of a summary answer, a brief summary answer to that. These are some things that you can do as teachers and building leaders, helping your teachers to make this process easier. So we need to teach discipline-specific approaches to text. So people brought up vocabulary. So what approaches am I going to use in my social studies class to get my students to understand difficult vocabulary? Discipline-specific strategies, multiple texts. So again, think of what I said a couple of minutes ago. Okay, I need multiple texts and multiple resources. Where do I get them? And man, isn't it amazing to have a group like this and to have this virtual learning network where the resources are, where not only do we get things from ASCD and places like EduCore, but we're going to get them from each other. And I really have faith in the people here but you guys are going to get onto this ASCD Edge site, and there's going to a real dialogue is going to get started there, and we'll help each other with text and say, hey, I found something here that I think is going to really be helpful to the 6-8 people. I found this resource that I think might really be helpful to the high school people, and we'll put those right on there. Focus on critical thinking. We got to get our kids analyzing and synthesizing and evaluating, and again, we're going to look at sources and strategies as we continue. Where are you going for help now? So before we look at too many resources moving ahead, let's think about where we are at this particular point in time. So again, let's go to our question box and let me hear from you. Where are we getting our source material right now if we know we have to teach using a lot of different resources? So if you would just type some things in the box there, like for me, just to get this started, my answer would be one of the places I go is to Twitter. So I don't know how many people we have on Twitter here. Maybe I'll find that out later because you'll start tweeting at me. But I go to Twitter because I find so many incredible sources from people on Twitter. They share links and say, here's a web tool you can use. Here's an article I found about, whatever, some historic event. Those are really helpful. Susan or Suzanne says Discovery Education, another phenomenal place. And you guys, please carry this to ASCD Edge. Boy, I sound like a broken record here. Talk about promoting. Please carry this to ASCD Edge. I will try to go there and to summarize a lot of the stuff in these question boxes, but it'll be really helpful if you get there too. And when you talk about something like Discovery Education, share that out. Everybody doesn't think about that. So I might go on there and say, hey, you'll find some amazing things at Discovery Education Network. I might put a link there. There's videos, there's content, there's all kinds of great things. Pinterest, wow, who would have thought social media as a tool for educators? Boy, I love to see stuff like that. Jenny, thanks, because we have to, as educators, get to that point where we realize kids want the social media, and instead of shying away from it, boy, if we can turn it into a teaching and learning tool, we're really going to get them on our side. Let's see. Let me run through a few more of these. I don't think you guys are seeing all these. National History Education Clearinghouse. Thanks, Anne. Jenny says curriculum guides. Kim says, I'm not sure what this is, newsela.com. Boy, I'd have to look that one up. I don't know that one. Edutopia, thanks for that one, Kim. What a great place. And Edutopia, not only do they offer some resources, but there's a lot of great blogs from educators there. And I would mention blogs. That would be what I would type in here. Look for teacher blogs. There's some amazing stuff out there. I Googled the topic, teacher channel, EduServe, all good places, Sean, thanks. Webinars, yeah, look at the people coming out to places like this, and then you see things like this and they get archived. Please share those out as well. Don't forget, we're not just sharing with each other in our virtual learning network, we're sharing with our peers who aren't here. I've got a lot of administrators here, and boy, I appreciate you guys coming, because I know you're going to go back to your building, classroom teachers, and you're going to share this information with them. Tell them to come out to the Social Studies Virtual Learning Network. Tell them to go to ASCD Edge and join the group. It doesn't matter if they've missed some webinars. So that's a big one. Streaming Plus on Discovery Education is a big one for teachers. There's Common Core things there. Thanks again, Susan or Suzanne. Sorry if I'm getting your name wrong. Twitter again, Dana, thanks for reminding us about Twitter. Man, I just love Twitter. There's so many great things there. Readworks.org is a nice one. Tamar, that's a great one. So look at what we're coming up with. Edutopia and ASCD, Twitter, Google. Jason, thanks. Nice to see Jason Flom here, another one of our virtual learning network facilitators. I appreciate him. And any ASCD folks who are supporting today. ASCD Smart Brief, thanks Don. Another phenomenal thing. Boy, ASCD just really rolls out the help for teachers, don't they? It amazes me. Sometimes I come across teachers and they're not familiar with the work of ASCD, and uh, boy, do I preach it, because it's amazing what we've got here. Um, the Church of Geography Facebook. Is that a place, Church of Geography, or is this a like an idiom? Let's go to Facebook, and that is our Church of Geography. Social media, you guys, embrace it. Don't push it away, because it's a fabulous place to learn. Most of our news comes from Facebook. You think about that. If you hear a breaking story, most of the time you get it from, by the way. We are a network. This is a professional learning network that we've got right here at our Social Studies VLN. We're all part of it now. And our social media platform is ASCD Edge. So we want to make sure that we get there and we keep doing what we're doing here. Um, Keegan says it's run by NGS. I'm not familiar with the NGS either. Maybe you can add that in there. Oh, it's a page full of geography, Common Core. Wow, this is great. Thanks. Church of Geography, Facebook. A lot of wonderful answers here. Keep them coming. This interactivity is really what makes us successful. So I just really appreciate what you guys are doing. Let's keep moving. One of the things that I think we're kind of talking about too with resources is we're sharing out stuff that already exists. And I want to show you more of that. So what I'm going to say is, why reinvent the wheel? I know when I first got into education decades and decades ago, um, I was that vim and vigor guy that was just going to create everything, and boy, I'm going to set the world on fire with all my brilliance. And it didn't take me too long to learn that you really need to go to other people and say, hey, do you have something that works? Let's not reinvent the wheel with this Common Core stuff. Instead, let's use the things that are out there to help us. Again, I mentioned educationnorthwest.org. Here is a couple of tools I want to share. And again, I'll put the link out on ASCD Edge. So if you're saying, well, where was that thing? I want to go find it. That's where you'll go, is ASCD Edge, to our virtual learning network group for social studies. So when we're thinking about strategies to get kids talking about complex texts and using that difficult vocabulary, what we want to do is find tools that will help facilitate that. So we don't need to recreate the wheel. So here's one here. Think about all of the things we can do, and this is a very, very simple tool, but one that will elicit an amazing amount of collaboration and learning with kids. And you see that relation piece. This is a really big part of Common Core. Embedded throughout, the Common Core says we really need to get kids comparing things, because that's one of those higher order skills that unfortunately we leave out a lot in the classroom. So we use the tool to help us with it. Here's another one. Again, educationnorthwest.org, wonderful place. So, just imagine taking the tool and then plugging it into whatever it is that you're working on, whatever story, unit, whatever piece of complex text you go out and get. And we'll find all kinds of places where you can go and get those. And then you say, here's a tool that I want to use to get kids dialoguing, to get them to demonstrate that they can use text evidence, which is such a key piece of demonstrating learning in the Common Core. So here it is. So again, with this instructional shift, let's think about what this looks like. And what I would like to do is take you to another fabulous source. And I told you earlier about this video. And this video I'm going to show, there are others on this site I'm going to share with you, but this particular video, I just want to show you a couple of minutes of this with the kids in class taking some complex text and show you how the collaboration works, how they're using resources, how they're thinking it through, how student-centered it is, and how this collaboration really helps kids to get to where they want to go. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this video.
What all literate folks have to do, and just to navigate, it's that sort of, well, what do others think? What do I think? What is the evidence for how I think? And then how do I report that and communicate it in a way that's effective?
Considering the competing view. That could be a political issue that they're talking about, a current event that they're talking about. You don't have to agree with it, but at least to know what they're saying. And that, to me, is one of the most important skills.
A little pulley right there.
Yeah, you're right. It could obviously harm people.
They had to provide reasons for the counterclaims, but then they had to refute the comments. So you basically have to say, sure, that's true, however, and then go back to your claim that's saying it's still not worth the cost to society.
In the essay, we are supposed to be talking about the opposing view as well. So I'm not just going to say that the idea of them is disgusting. I'm going to say it also makes sense.
Yes. They are going to exchange drafts of the introduction, the body paragraphs, and the competing views.
Where is your claim? What's the introduction? I guess you have a hook, but you don't really have a background information.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I got hook on it.
I know what side you're fighting for, but you know.
I forgot to put that in.
Oops, okay, let's check that off. Where is it? No claim. Shane Muhammad.
I was really, really pleased with their peer editing skills. And I saw students saving each other's grades a little bit by saying, oh, this is missing or this doesn't match. So I feel like that skill has improved.
I'm so used to you grading our papers, and it's like grading his paper is, I just feel like I'm a teacher now.
LDC, when the task is right and the mini tasks are right and the structure is right, does the kind of thing that we've wanted to happen in all classes, but especially social studies, science, and English classes. And that is students move through a process toward sifting the information and then toward using the information to support their own assertion.
This is a new learning experience for me, and it's obviously a new learning experience for them. It's putting more accountability on the students to take pride in their own learning.
You get to like understand the process and how to write a good essay. Like you know the steps to follow, and you know if you're on the right track.
It's been a great process, and it's challenging and it's time consuming, but the results are really amazing and fulfilling as a teacher.
Have those there as well. So the key there, and this is one of those sources now, when you think back to our question about where do I go, where do I get things, here you can find this all at the Literacy Design Collaborative. So what you get are these sort of modules that are really amazing, and you see here on the slide it says new module creator launch is coming soon. So this module creator that the LDC is making is going to be really amazing for teachers and make your job so much easier. All right, so it helps you with a sort of a template that you can plug your own information into. What I love about this is it doesn't make teachers robots. One of the things that always scared me about Common Core, or about any sort of standardization, was this idea that I felt like it turned teachers into sort of robots, you know, where you got the material and you had to teach it a certain way, and it was going to take away any sort of independence. And I think that that's not the case here. When we use this LDC, and we can get there again through EduCore. So, you know, we don't need to get overwhelmed with sources. These things are connected. I've got this modular piece where it asks me what is my task. I think about the skills that I'm going to use, what is the instruction, and you'll see when you use this that it really doesn't take away your independence or style as an educator. It's only a helpful resource. Again, back to that problem of practice we talked about. I want to expand upon that a little bit here, talking about time to teach specific reading strategies using complex content while providing students with the content knowledge they need. Let's discuss this and talk a little bit about current practice. All right, so, and we've sort of done this a little bit already, but I want to make sure that we have as much as we possibly can get to share out on our ASCD Edge platform. And you guys are just really great at typing in this question box. So what I'd like to do is expand this discussion from earlier, and let's continue talking about not so much about tools right now, but what are the things we do in class to help us meet Common Core standards. Are you doing anything specific right now? Or maybe we're just in the training stage, and if that's the case, you could type that in your question box as well, that we're still sort of learning how to do it. But do you do anything that you might say is different now from the way you used to teach to facilitate Common Core standards in your social studies class? Or if you're one of the administrators, do you know any of those things that are going on within your building? So if you have any of that, let's just type that in. And I know you guys, I've got some comments on couldn't hear the video. I apologize for that. But again, you can take a look at that on ASCD Edge. So I'm going to watch my chat box here for things that people might be doing in their class to sort of do Common Core stuff, and then I'm going to move on. Applied research in competitions. Love that. Thanks, Jason. History Fair Project, Model UN. These are really some great ideas for expanding our thinking, for collaborating, for hitting those Common Core areas we looked at earlier in those qualitative, quantitative measures. Those are great things. Break down stories into storyboards, Sean. Wow, what a great idea. That's tremendous. And I think that's really important. And think back a few slides where we had some of those helpful tools from our resources that you could use for activities like that. Group analysis of text, Rick, thanks. Again, I would use those tools to help me with having kids analyze and discuss, collaborate, because that way you're not reinventing the wheel. You've got ideas, you've got text, and then you say, here's how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to use some of the resources to make my life easier. Incorporating books. Megan, I love that one, especially from an English language arts background. Animal Farm is an example that we give, really nice. And Night, as we study Russian Revolution. This is the way we want to think too with our complex texts and working across subjects, which I think is really important. Small research questions requiring multiple media and text sources. Catherine shares that, and thank you, because one of the things we need to be careful to look at is how the Common Core addresses research, because it's much different from your old school research. You know, years ago, when I was teaching research in the language arts class, it was a whole standalone unit. You know, the old days with the note cards and the outlines and the big 5-page paper, and that sort of has been kicked to the curb more. So we are looking at how we can use multiple media, text sources, and kind of break down our research. Okay, let's move forward. as our time gets short here. So again, we want to locate relevant complex content, integrate close reading strategies, and I want to get more into the specific strategies both at ASCD Edge, where we're dialoguing there, and later on here. And again, I want to think about where to go for help for these strategies. I'm going to really encourage you to use Achieve the Core, EduCore. These places will give you the templated material that will make it easier for you to plug in your own work. Got some examples here just to see what you'll see, and again, this stuff, these are screenshots of things that we don't need to read a ton of, but just to take a look at the kind of thing that you can find at these places, these amazing resources that will make you more effective because you'll have tools. There's some really powerful stuff here. So this is something that I went out and looked at on the website. So I went to Achieve the Core, looked up a lesson, found a resource. So remember, a lot of what we're talking about today is built around this complex text, and where do I find it? First of all, so that I can then discuss the vocabulary, I can teach all of the qualitative and quantitative things, I can get my kids collaborating, because these are the kinds of skills that will make them better with these sorts of texts. Here I can go out and get it. Here's my source. Here's all of this material sort of laid out for me as the teacher. I've got a reading task. I've got a vocabulary task. I've got a syntax task. There's that whole qualitative, quantitative text that kids struggle with. How do I break down difficult sentence structure for my students? And a lot of that's going to come with doing it over and over again, having them read something through once, maybe on their own, going through difficult parts where the teacher reads to them, and then discussing it and talking about what makes it difficult. There's a lot of this looking at the text carefully and conversing about it that makes a difference. Look at how this is broken down. One day, instructional exemplar for Monk's Words We Live By. Summary of activities, text under discussion, directions for teachers, guiding questions. Boy, guiding questions are so important to engage kids. I mean, you can see what I'm talking about here. This is just an amazing resource that's really going to help you, and it's out there. Again, going back to things that we use that help us, Cornell Notes, you may have seen already, have been popular for a few years, but this is a really powerful tool for getting kids looking at text differently. And there's a lot of resources out there that will tell you how to use specifically Cornell Notes if you don't have a lot of experience with them. But as you can see, you could set this up in a notebook. You wouldn't necessarily need a worksheet or any kind of copies for this. But we've got our cue column, and then we take our notes, and we're asking questions, we're reflecting, we're summarizing, which is so critical. And then you see that source also includes pictures. There's just a lot there that you could use, you could share with kids. Okay, so as we wind down our time, I just want to review where we're going and what we want to do next. So from here, where do we go? We go to EduCore. We go to Achieve the Core. We go to LDC, which we can also access from EduCore. We go to ASCD Edge and go to the Social Studies VLN group. Please, with 60 plus people here, if I don't go over there and I don't see dozens of people in that group, it's going to be frustrating, and I know you guys don't want to frustrate me. We want to get there because we're going to help each other. So remember, ASCD Edge, go to the groups, find Social Studies VLN, and join. It's very easy to do. We're back here February 19th. Now, one of the things we want to do, and this will really be where the group at ASCD Edge will help, because you'll guide this. Remember, this is your group. It's not mine. I'm a facilitator. What I want to do is have you sort of guide the webinars. Okay, so what is next? What resources are we using that are helping us? What strategies? We'll share those on ASCD Edge in the group. And then what do I need still? Here's where you've got to ask, okay? What would you like? What could be provided here in a webinar on February 19th that would make you better? So I really need that from you. I'm going to go ahead and post it on the site and say, hey, tell me what you need. And that can happen over time, over the next month or so. Connect with me. That's a big one. And again, you're going to do it through Edge. I know you guys are going to be there. You're tired of hearing me talk about it. You're going to get on there. You're going to see how powerful it is. We're going to become great friends there. You can reach out to me too through email. Feel free to do that. I'm in my email every single day, so I will respond if you need me. You can tweet at me again at MarkBarnes19 if you're on Twitter, and I hope you are. And I think that brings us to the end of our time today. So we're working on close reading. We're using our resources. We're using the strategies that we discussed for getting kids collaborating and using those templates to get them thinking at higher levels. We're using the videos that are out there. We're going to take it to the classroom. We're going to get better, and we're going to meet on ASCD Edge. Thank you for being here. Thank you for contributing, and I will see you soon.